Okay, I am here with Zach Musser, who works in the tech department for Lebanon School District. Zach, can you tell me exactly what you do at Lebanon?
Sure. At Lebanon, I am the district's instructional technology coach. I'm primarily responsible for helping teachers across the district implement any sort of technologies into their classroom. I do things like co-teach in the classroom. I sit and plan with teachers as far as how they want to integrate technology into the classroom, and I do support different programs or devices that we use throughout the district on the back end as well. If it has to do with educational software, I have my hand in it in some capacity in the district.
Okay, so what brought you out of the classroom and into a coaching role?
And then the hybrid initiative came through, which put an iPad in every kid's hands. And again, we were asked to apply if we wanted to be a part of that. Originally, I did because it seemed like a great opportunity for me. And because of that, I was availed with a lot of training. We probably had, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 professional development training that summer before the first year we did the hybrid rotational model. So I learned a lot about educational technology there. Implemented the hybrid model in my classroom for a few years. Once we tried to expand that initiative beyond the original pilot of 8 teachers, the administration decided it was kind of necessary to have what they were terming at that point a hybrid coach, so that we'd have somebody to help the rest of the teachers kind of on board with the whole idea of utilizing technology in the classroom and the hybrid rotational model. Since beyond the first pilot year, they weren't given all the opportunities for training that we were given the first year. So that's originally kind of why they developed the coaching role, which I applied for. And initially that was supposed to be a temporary thing, but after about a year and a half in the position, they decided to make it permanent. And so that's how I found myself, in this role permanently.
So, yeah, and like when you came into that permanently, that's kind of where like our stories kind of connect because when they
Mm.
decided to bring eighth grade on board with hybrid, that's where you and I connected professionally. I mean, we had known each other before, but really got a chance to work with each other. My project here that I'm working on has to do with Genius Hour and has to do with student choice. But what I'm also trying to do is get more teachers involved in student choice projects because that's really the heart of Genius Hour. It's student choice and letting go of teacher led instruction and giving students some more ownership. So, the first thing I want to ask you about that is why do you think that that's such a scary thing for some teachers?
I think for a lot of teachers that scares them because they think the idea of letting go of control of the classroom will somehow equate to a complete lack of control in the classroom. And I think teachers don't, maybe they don't realize that allowing students a certain level of choice and some options in how they explore content can really help resolve a lot of the issues that they might be facing in the classroom rather than exasperate them. Like I think teachers look at that and think, well, I have these discipline issues in my classroom, or I can't even get my kids to pay attention when I'm talking to them, whatever the case may be, and they think, well, how am I going to just like have this free time where I let them go and do their own thing, and they see it as it would just exasperate all the problems that they have, when in reality, it's actually probably going to solve some of those problems for them.
Yeah, and it's funny you said that because that's actually what I found for years when I was a regular classroom teacher. I had okay classroom management. Like some days would be really, really great, and some days it'd be like, oh my God, why am I doing this for a living? And when I went into the hybrid learning model and started incorporating more student choice, my behavior problems disappeared. And
Mm.
I guess my struggle is as I'm like trying to be an ambassador in my building and get other people to try this, like they see me and they see how well it works for me. And they're like, oh, well, that's nice for you. That's great that that works for you. It would never work for me. And I'm just kind of like, well, what's working for you now? So I know you can't make somebody be a risk taker. Like that's an impossible feat. But what are some things that we can do maybe at your level and at my level to take some of the fear out of risk taking for teachers?
I mean, one thing I thought about as I was thinking about this interview was if you can just get teachers to incorporate some level of choice in some portion of their lessons. So, I found an easy place to start is, in end of lesson or end of unit assignment. If you can talk to teachers about building, levels of choice into that kind of larger assignment. So, I mean, that's just good differentiation practice. So you can talk to them about how, you can set students up to do, this deliver the same understanding in written form, in a video form, in a voice thread. They can act it out, and then you can set up all these different choices that they have to deliver this assignment task. And if you can kind of work teachers through that design of an assignment and show them how, we could set up a rubric that is, general enough and specific and focused on your learning goals, so that we can have one rubric that you can use to grade, all of these different assignment types. So it's not going to be more work for you necessarily. You're not going to have to develop 6 different rubrics just because you're giving kids 6 different options to do. Um, and it's not going to require you to completely give up control of your classroom for a large period of time right away. You can still deliver your content in a traditional means if you need to. It's just, when it comes time for the students to show you what they've learned, that's where you can start with the choice aspect.
How do we support them? How can I support them at the building level? How could you support them at a coach level?
You can really support them in the planning of a lesson that would, allow for choice. Um, I think I can support them if they let me in the room. And I think a lot of people are willing to do that, but some people aren't. And I just think, sometimes I think that people are worried about being observed by anyone. Even though I'm not an administrator and I have no interest in evaluating you, I think people are just always just a little bit concerned about having other eyes in the room for whatever reason.
Yeah, and while you were talking there, anybody from our district who might end up seeing this, if they're afraid about you judging them, they should probably know about the time that you caught me sitting underneath a table with a group of students, and you didn't turn around and walk right back out again. So I don't think if you can withstand that and still come in and help me in my classroom, I think everybody else is probably fine. Any final thoughts before we close up here?
Final thoughts, I'd say, you've got you've got very little to lose by giving kids the opportunity to explore things the way they want to explore them. I have never seen a student choice driven lesson or assignment result in significantly less understanding, I guess. Have I seen some that haven't gone as well as others? Sure, but basically, the worst I've ever seen them do is about baseline for what they would have done in a standard lesson. You know, and the best I've ever seen them do is get kids to think about things in more deep and interesting ways than maybe they ever did before, and get kids to these are the kind of things that can get kids to realize that school is valuable to them. I mean, these are the types of situations that can really have lasting and significant impacts. All of a sudden you get these aha moments, and you can get kids, I strongly believe you can see a day or a week in a kid's academic life where they go from a kid who probably wouldn't have graduated to the kid who graduates. And it usually has to do with a situation like this where they're given the opportunity to see some value in what they're learning, and also that they can indeed be successful in the classroom. I mean, you got to give a kid a win if they're going to see that they, have some future in the classroom. So
Yeah, I mean, for sure. So thank you so much for sharing your perspective. Um, yeah, that's pretty much all I got.
All right. Thanks for having me.